I'm Scott Wikle. You're listening to My Kind of Country. My guest tonight was the very first person I ever interviewed on My Kind of Country. He's been a great friend and loyal supporter for my show for many years, and he's been on here, I think, probably more than just about anybody else. And it's always a pleasure to talk to him, especially tonight, because he's got a brand new album that just dropped on Friday. It's called From Memphis to Muscle Shoals. We're going to talk about it and play a whole bunch of the cuts. It is an honor to welcome my buddy, T. Graham Brown, to My Kind of Country. Hey T, how you doing?
Scotty, me boy.
How are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. You had a busy morning. I heard you on Country Coffee and Cody this morning on WSM.
Oh, you were tuned in?
Yep.
Where'd you listen to it, on the internet?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I had to get up at 6. I'm not used to getting up that early.
Yeah, I hear you there, man. You were on the Opry last night, weren't you?
Yeah, we did the opera last night, and I came home. I got into bed about 10:15. I got enough sleep.
Well, that's
and
good.
We're doing the opera Friday night, too.
Are you? Hey, that's great. Well, congratulations, man. When I heard you were going to become a member, I watched that video too, man, and I'll tell you what, my heart just went out right there with you for that. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you, man. Biggest thing that's ever happened to me and Sheila.
Well, it is well deserved. It's about time. They need to be getting people like you on that Grand Ole Opry. I know they've got a lot of the new blood, but they gotta keep the legends in there too. You know.
Yeah, it was really sweet of them to do that. I wish they'd get Exile and Shenandoah. There's a couple more, but I'd love to see those two guys get in there. I think Gene Watson is going to be on Friday night, so that'll be good. I didn't know we were going to do it Friday night till last night, but Gene, the girl that runs the play, that books all the talent, asked us. So they've been booking me out there a lot since they made me a member.
Well, that's great.
Good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is great.
It works out with your schedule, and you're close by too, so that makes a difference, you know.
Yeah, I got to sing "Lost in the '50s" last night. I picked that. I usually pick a song just to throw in there, and man, it was fun singing "Lost in the '50s." And Ronnie Millsap was tuned in, listening.
Oh, was he? Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that made it all the better.
I'll have to catch the rebroadcast. I know Sirius XM rebroadcasts that, so I'll have to catch that. I'd love to hear that. I'm so happy to have you back on the show tonight. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. You're one of my favorite people, you know that. And you blessed me with letting me hear a early recording of this whole album, and I got to live with it and learn to love it. And I'm so glad that it's out for all your fans now. And I tell you what, I can't imagine anybody better than you to do these fantastic songs.
Oh, well, thanks, man. I'm glad you like it. I'm glad it's finally coming out. We cut the tracks. Golly, man, it seems like we did cut the tracks 3 years ago, man. I can't believe it's been that long.
I'd say it's been a while, yeah. Yeah, I remember you said
and it took us a long time to get the clearances from all the artists, dealing with artist managers and lawyers and all. That's what took the longest time.
Yeah, I got to deal with all those legalities. I know how that goes, that's for sure. T. Graham Brown is T's website, and the new album is called From Memphis to Muscle Shoals. It was just released on Friday, August the 2nd. T, what was your inspiration to want to do this fabulous project?
Well, I grew up with a lot of people don't even know what a transistor radio is, but for those who don't know, in the 60s, you could only get AM radio. And I had a little radio fit in the palm of my hand, and I would just have it glued to my left ear, man, just listening to the radio all the time. And there was one little station that didn't have a format that I could pick up that was 10 miles away, and it was a 5,000 watt AM station. I remember it. WMJM, 1490 since 1940 was their saying. And they played all kinds of stuff. I mean, you might hear the Beatles and then hear Johnny Cash, and then hear Aretha Franklin, and then hear Jerry Lee Lewis, or, you know, Tammy Wynette. It was all over the place. So I just listened to whatever they were playing, and then at night I could lay in my bed and scroll through the AM dial really slowly, and at night you could pick up the Clear Channel stations. And for people who don't know what a Clear Channel station is, there were a few stations around the United States that could, seemed like they could broadcast what was it, Scott, like 50,000 watts or something at night.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
they had to wait till the sun went down, and then they could crank their transmitter up. But you could pick up stations I was living in South Georgia, and I could pick up WSM. There was one in Atlanta called WSB. You could pick up Nashville, WLAC. I remember WOWO in Fort Wayne. There was one down in New Orleans. So I would just listen to. I was in this little town of 300 people, and when I listened to those stations at night that were far away in cities far away, I would just dream about, you know, I wonder what it's like to be in Chicago, or I wonder what it's like to be in Nashville, and my mind could take me away from that little town, you know. And so depending on what station you were listening to, that's what you would hear. Like that Fort Wayne station would play top 40 songs, and then you could listen to WLAC, and it was John R. and Hoss Allen, and they were all playing rhythm and blues music. So I listened to that a lot. Otis Redding was from 70 miles up the road from where I was from. I was a huge fan of his, and I just like soul music, man, all my life. And you know, man, I'm kind of like the country soul guy. I've always had one foot in the R&B world and one foot in the country world.
Yeah.
I just wanted to record a bunch of those songs I grew up listening to, you know, soul songs. And so we went down to Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and into Fame Studios. And Fame is the studio that there were so many hits, Percy Sledge and Arthur Alexander, Aretha Franklin, and just, you know, they cut so many hits down there. And we actually recorded from Memphis to Muscle Shoals tracks in the exact same room that all those other hits were cut in.
Wow. And
we actually used one of the keyboards that were played on those records. So, you know, from 1962, they still got these vintage organs and different instruments in the same little room. It's not a big room, man. It's just a small room. And so we did all the tracks there, and then we moved across town to another historic studio called Wishbone. And my co-producer, Billy Lawson, owns Wishbone. He bought Wishbone a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
He's keeping it open, you know, and it's a great studio, and that's where we did all the vocals and the horn overdubs and the background vocals were done at Wishbone. So it was all and another really cool thing is there was a group of musicians called the Muscle Shoals Rhythm Section, and they played on so many hits, Rolling Stones, Bob Seger, just on and on. It's amazing. Aretha Franklin, I'm drawing a blank because just dozens and dozens of hits were recorded by the Muscle Shoals Rhythm Section. And a lot of people don't realize that I cut most of my country hits at Muscle Shoals Sound in Muscle Shoals, which Muscle Shoals Sound was a studio that was owned by the Muscle Shoals Rhythm Section, and they got the nickname the Swampers. So everybody called them the Swampers. So there's only one Swamper left that's still alive, and his name is David Hood. He's a bass player, and he played on all my hits just about. So we got him to play bass on every track on our new album. So we kind of had a connection to the past by having him on there.
That's awesome.
And we just cut this thing, man, we cut it exactly the way they cut those records in the 60s. And we wanted it to sound like it was cut in the 60s. So we worked really hard to make it sound authentic to that period.
Yeah, it does.
So that's why I cut those songs. You asked me why I cut those songs, and it was just because I loved them growing up. You know, I was born in 54. So when the Beatles came over, I was 10 years old. So I kind of grew up in the 60s, you know. I was a kid and, you know, going on into high school. And I just love that stuff.
I absolutely love every song on this, like I said. And I love every single song on here, and they're all songs that everybody's going to know. And in addition to that, you got some pretty heavyweight people singing on these songs with you, too. Tell me a little bit about some of the guest artists.
Well, I was on the radio this morning. You said you were listening to it and on WSM.
Yeah.
I was telling them that this album, you know, we cut 14 songs, and this album was not meant to be a duet album at all. We didn't even think about that. And I was talking to Dwight Yoakam, and there's a bunch of us that came out basically within a year of each other. Randy Travis, Keith Whitley, Marty Stewart, Steve Earle, Dwight Yoakam. I think maybe Patty Loveless was in there, and me. And we've all stayed in touch with each other, and we all still love each other very much. We've always cared about each other, and there was never any competition, you know. We all pulled for each other. So anyway, I was just talking to Dwight Yoakam, catching up with him. He asked me what I'd been doing, and I told him about this record. And he asked if I had cut this song called I'm Your Puppet. And I said, yeah, man, as a matter of fact, I did. And he asked me if he could sing on it, which stunned me, really. And I said, yeah, man, you can sing on it. I'd love for you to sing on it. So he went in the studio out in Hollywood and did his duet part, and then he sang harmony on everything. He really took his time doing it. He's a perfectionist anyway, and it was wonderful of him to do it. And once I heard that, I thought, man, maybe I ought to call up Tanya and see if she would feel like doing one with me. So, and I knew she would. So I called her up. She said yes. So she did one, and I just got to thinking, man, I think I'll call Sammy Hagar and see if he'll sing Walking the Dog with me. And then I called Winona, and I called Sam Moore from Sam and Dave, and Eddie Floyd that had the original Knock on Wood. And it was wonderful. We cut Knock on Wood, and it was wonderful having the guy that sang the original hit on it and wrote the song.
Oh, yeah.
To come to Muscle. He came to Muscle Shoals to Wishbone and sang. He lives in Dothan, Alabama now, I think.
Oh, okay.
Montgomery, rather. And so I just started calling people, man. It was really, it wasn't meant to be that way. I just started calling people, and they all said, yeah, Delbert McClinton singing Mustang Sally with me, he's my hero. I mean, one of them, they're all my heroes. You know, Little Anthony, Betty Levette, these people that are getting a little age on them now. I just wanted to show everybody that they could still sing great. It was as much a tribute to those older artists as it was to the soul music. You know, it's a tribute album to soul music, and to have these guys that were around then, it's just wonderful. And Randy Houser, you know, he's a current country guy, and he's singing Dock of the Bay. And Zach Williams, who's great, he's a Christian artist, and he's really big right now. And so Winona, it was just really cool that everybody agreed to do it. And we went around and got everybody recorded, and I think it turned out just wonderfully well.
Well, it sure did. Betty Levette, I got to talk about her for a second. I'll tell you what, she sounds fabulous on "Do Right Woman, Do Right Man" and the Aretha Franklin song.
Cut, man. That whole track and the vocals on that's a great record, boy. I'm proud of that. That might be my favorite. That's one of my favorite cuts on that record. Yeah,
me too, without a doubt. And Mustang Sally is probably my other favorite on there with Delbert McClinton.
Good.
Man, I love him. I kind of got into him later in my life. I really hadn't paid a lot of attention to his music, and he put out an album in the late 80s, I think it was, and there was a song on there called "Rolling the Dice," man, and I just fell in love with that, and ever since then.
Troy Seals wrote that song.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah, that's a great song.
Oh, man, ever since then, I've been a fan of his. He's fantastic, and it was great to hear you guys on this album. And like you told me a while back, these guys can still carry the mail.
I'm telling you, they can, man. And you know, when you get, you know, we're talking, for the people listening, we're talking about people in their 80s, and Sam Moore's 88 now, I think. I think he was 87 when he sang on the record, and they're all in their 80s, you know, and they could still do it.
Oh, they sure can. You did a great version of Soul Man on here too. Speaking of Sam and Dave.
Oh, thank you.
And then
you know, I was gonna get Sam to sing Soul Man with me, and his wife Joyce said, "No, Sam sung Soul Man so many times. Let's pick another song." So his wife didn't want him to do it, which I would have been crazy to have him do Soul Man with me, but she didn't want him to do it. And they're great. I'm talking about, they're very close friends of ours. So I had to do what she said. She's the boss of Sam.
I understand that. Yeah, I understand that. You guys did "Who's Making Love"? That's Johnny Taylor, I think, did that originally, right?
Yeah, he did, and that was cut in Muscle Shoals too.
Man, that's great. Now you and Sam, though, I think you guys performed that song "Soul Man" together live someplace, didn't you?
We did it on that Lee Greenwood special.
That's what. Okay, yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
We sang that, and then we sang Lee's hit "Ain't No Trick."
Yeah.
Somebody sent me a copy of "Ain't No Trick." Man, we did a good job. I was so happy with the way that turned out. That was fun singing. It's always fun singing with Sam.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, you've got such a soulful voice and such a powerhouse voice that you are right up there with these guys. And it just fits, man. I mean, you know, I hate to put people into categories and stuff like that. You know, you mentioned earlier, you know, you've had a foot in country music and a foot in R&B, and that's the truth. I mean, you've done so many great just songs, just music. You know, years ago, I remember hearing a song you did with the Beach Boys, "Help Me Rhonda." Man, and I'll tell you what, I absolutely love that thing.
Boy, that was so fun recording with the Beach Boys, man. And then I got to do a couple of shows with them with Brian Wilson on stage.
Did you really? Wow.
The Beach Boy deal was really cool.
Wow. What was it like meeting Brian Wilson, man? He's a legend.
It was awesome. You know, you remember when Fanfare, they used to be, it's called CMA Fest now. It used to be called Fanfare.
Sure.
And we did a big show at Fanfare. There was about 10,000 people there, I remember. And Brian Wilson it was great, man. I mean, he's Brian Wilson. Are you kidding me? It was great.
That is fantastic. Well, folks, the brand new album from T. Graham Brown, From Memphis to Muscle Shoals, is available on all the places we get our music and stream our music. And, of course, tgrahambrown.com. We will have all that information on our Facebook page for My Kind of Country. T, are you releasing physical copies of this album as well?
Oh, yeah. We're going to have CDs. We're going to have vinyl.
Oh, good. I was going to ask about that.
We'll have it on USB. Yeah, we're going to have physical stuff for sure.
Good.
Just go to the website and order it, and we'll ship it to you.
I was going to ask about the vinyl because, I mean, these songs need to be heard on vinyl, I think. You know, that's the way to do it. I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to be getting one of those and putting it on my turntable. That's the way to do it right there.
Yeah, man. Heck yeah.
That's great. How's Sheila doing?
She's doing great, and thanks for asking.
We'll give her a big hug.
Everything's beautiful in our world, man.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. And you've had, I mean, gosh dang, you've had so much great stuff going on. You've got so many tour dates. You got a lot of dates coming up this fall. You're going to be at Nashville North up in Fall Creek, Wisconsin coming up. And you're doing some shows with T.G. Shepherd, another good buddy of mine, too.
Yeah, and then we're going out to Hinton, Oklahoma, and it's going to be, I think, Mo Bandy and I believe Janie Fricky and TG and me and a bunch of us on the same show, which is really good. It's always sold out there. It's a real big room and it's fun.
Fantastic.
So yeah, we're doing that. Let me plug my show on Sirius XM. It's called Live Wire.
Man,
there's 10 times a month on Channel 58, the Prime Country channel. So tune into that too.
I love how did you end up doing that show, doing all the live material? I love live recordings, and
I just talked them into it, but you know, it took me a couple of years to talk them into it, and then they finally said yes. And you know, next month we're starting our 6th year doing it.
Wow, that's great.
So
every
August or every July they call me up and ask me if I want to do it for another year, and I say, yeah, man, let's do it for another year.
Oh man, I love live. I've done a lot of.
I don't know how long I'll do it. I guess I'll just keep doing it till they tell me they don't want me to do it anymore.
Oh, I hope so, man. I love live recordings. I've done a lot of live recording shows, and I get some of the best response. I've got a huge collection of live recordings, and sometimes I prefer hearing live recordings of songs. You get to hear them the way that they're just put out there to the fans, and you know, you've got the improv. You know, you can get out there and it's just so real. It's hard to describe it. You know what I'm saying? I know you know what I mean.
I just wanted it to sound like you're going from concert to concert. You know.
Yeah, I love that.
Your imagination. Use your imagination. You know.
And one of my favorite albums of yours is the Live at Billy Bob's. I just love that album.
Man. Thank you. That was fun cutting that night.
That's the way to hear T. Graham Brown is live in concert. If you get a chance to go and see him, please do, and check out his tour dates on tgrahambrown.com. That's for sure.
I guarantee you'll have a good time.
Oh, I guarantee it. We can attest to that. We've seen you several times up here in Michigan, and we always look forward to seeing you. And I hope we'll get a chance to see you again real soon, buddy.
All right, man. Love you, Scott.
I love you too, my friend. Thank you so much for taking time to be on the show. And folks, we're going to play a whole bunch of cuts from this brand new album from my buddy T. Graham Brown, From Memphis to Muscle Shoals, as we continue with My Kind of Country. T, thanks again, my friend.
You're welcome, buddy.